open, but it's not turned on. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everybody. And I'm going to get up here. Thank you for coming. A couple of things before we get started. You will have a chance to taste the delicious food that you're going to see demonstrated here today. You're going to get a chance to taste that, along with a light lunch. So we hope that you will stay with us and help yourself to some food after this is over. I would like to let you know that this is being live streamed, and it will be recorded and on YouTube and Facebook. So if you miss anything, or you want to see it again, or you want to show it to a family member or a friend because you had such a great time here, you'll be able to do that. And just want to mention that the restrooms are through these double doors and to the right. With that, let's see. I think that's all the initial information. I will be introducing our speaker later, but for right now, I would like to, we are a faith-based institution, and so we like to begin with prayer. So I would invite our Pastor John to come up and begin and have a prayer for us this morning.
Thank you. No matter what your faith is or not faith, or as you heard, we are a faith-based organization, and we would like to thank God. I respect your beliefs, and I hope that you will respect our beliefs. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for such a beautiful day. It's a gift from you, because I believe that you created this world, and also that you created us and you gave us the best for our bodies. I'm also here to ask you for forgiveness that we abused our bodies with different kinds of food and who knows what. But thank you for giving us another opportunity that we can learn and that we can have strength, your strength, to make some changes in our lives. I'm thankful for every person that is present here. And I pray for every and each one that we would truly, truly take care of our bodies, because in healthy body is a healthy spirit also. I pray for presenters, that they would with clarity present the message, and that this message can reach our hearts. Thank you above all for Jesus Christ and salvation in him, and in his name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. So we live in a country that has a lot of highly processed food products. And some of the most highly processed are imitation meat products. Some of the ingredients, now I just to see if I could, what it looked like, I looked up some patents from Impossible Company and Beyond Meat Company, and they're pretty scary. So, we've got these soy protein isolates, which are extracted with hexane, which is, of course, a petroleum product. So I thought it would really be nice to be able to, have control over the ingredients of our food and be able to prepare some meat substitutes and cheese substitutes that are actually healthy for us. So I met our speaker at this past June at our International Food Fest, and I was speaking to Brian, actually, our speaker's husband, and we were just talking, and he said, well, my wife makes makes our own meat substitutes and cheese substitutes. And my eyes got really big, and I said, "You're kidding me." And he said, no, she's been doing it for a while. So I said, well, would you be willing to come and show us how to do it? And of course, they said yes, because they're here. And so I really appreciate that. And I just want to introduce, so Pauline was raised cooking in her parents' international style catering business. But her love for cooking didn't really start until around the time that she was getting married. And she loves challenges in cooking, and she gained quite a bit of inspiration from the book, The Joy of Cooking. And then when the internet came along, she had all kinds of inspiration for cooking. And so besides being an inspired cook, Pauline is also a real estate agent, and she enjoys helping people to find the right home and make the right move for themselves and their families. So with that, I'd just like to introduce Pauline Sharp.
Hi, it's a little bit loud, right? Okay. Anyways, about 14 years ago, we were at a green fest, and my husband said, let's go vegetarian for the environment. The ozone layers are being destroyed by the factory farms and all this. And I said, oh, I like a challenge, like you heard. And so I went to PETA's website. They had a starter guide, and here we go. And then the first thing that I really missed was, who doesn't like barbecue? So I started making my own ribs and my own sausage. And then last year was the year for cheese. And I learned how to make cheese, and I'll talk more about cheese when I get to that demo. Anyway, so we went vegan about 4 years ago, and going vegan, you got to learn to make, like I make my own sour creams, my own mayonnaise, things like that. So to talk about what I'm making today, as you saw, it's currywurst, and with a curry gravy and sautéed cabbage. If you get it at a festival like we saw at a Kris Kringle market, they just put it on top of French fries, which is fine, but I figured, we don't want to serve fried food, so I'm making it a little bit more healthy. The history of currywurst, and it's a German dish out of Berlin. It was the English, what was it, Brian?
It is attributed to a woman named Puerta in 1949. She combined ketchup, or Worcestershire, and curry powder from the British soldiers who were staying in basically occupied Germany at that time.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, he can. Yeah.
It's attributed to a woman in Berlin in 1949, and curry powder was supplied by British soldiers who were stationed in Germany after World War II. And she mixed these ingredients with a bunch of other spices and put it over a grilled sausage at the time. And then she patented the sauce under the name Chill Up in 1951. And her sausage stand was serving 10,000 servings per week at one point. So it kind of took off, and it became synonymous with Berlin street food. And so the recipe has been around for, what?
A long time.
70 years, yeah.
And so when we would go to Kris Kringle Market at Daily Center, they would have currywurst, but it was made with real bratwurst, meat bratwurst. And last year they had it vegan. And that was the first time I tried it. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so good. And then a couple of months later, one of my favorite online YouTubers, Fit Green Mind, who is from Germany, I love her dishes, and she made currywurst from the homemade sausage to the gravy, and then my addition is sautéed cabbage. And what I also appreciated was how easy she made it. Because a lot of your meat analogs, you have to wrap it in foil, you got to steam it for an hour, you got to, it could be something. But I, of course, have found how to make my own chicken for skewers, my own ribs, sausage, bacon, all my own meat analogs. And it doesn't take that long, like you'll see. Some of the ingredients that I'm using is, the unusual ingredients is this pork-flavored broth. Now, one of my favorite YouTubers told me about this. You can pick this up at H Mart. There's absolutely no meat in it. They have pork, chicken, beef. I think that's it. Anyways, so this is what I've added, and it's artificial. It says it right on the ingredient, artificial pork flavor. So that's one of the ingredients. But if you don't want to do that, where's my... I also season a lot of things with Vegeta. I don't know if you're familiar with it. You can find it at the international... It's Polish, basically, or Middle European. Croatia? Okay. Okay. All right. It was introduced to me from a woman from Poland. That's why I'm thinking it's Polish. Okay. Another interesting ingredient you probably have heard of, I don't know, is vital wheat gluten. Vital wheat gluten is the protein extracted from flour. Now, you can wash your own flour. It takes 5 pounds of high-protein flour, and you get maybe a half a pound of seitan. I've done that. Yes, it's labor-intensive, and I'm just like, I'm just going to cut to the chase and use vital wheat gluten. So in my food processor, I'm going to add the beans. And I think in the recipe it says to use chickpeas, but I ran out of chickpeas when I was making the sausage for today, and so I cook all my own beans, and I looked in my freezer, and I had some white beans, I had some chickpeas, I had some soybeans, and so I just kind of threw it all together, and it worked out fine. So that goes in. Another tip, not a tip, but so I get a can of tomato paste, and you only use a tablespoon, right? So I wrap it in these little pieces of cellophane and throw it in the freezer, and you have a tablespoon whenever you need it. I've seen people use, they put it in an ice cube tray, no. You just throw it, you cut little squares and go after it. And so this, let me think. Let me give this a whiz with the spices. So in goes salt, pork bouillon, black pepper, dried marjoram, cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, mustard powder, and ground mace. Ground mace is really important because all bratwurst recipes have it. And you can buy a little thing. Yeah. Which one? The pork? Oh, this is my mix of spices. It's in the recipe. It's a teaspoon of each of several spices, and it takes you a couple of minutes to put together. This is the longest part of the whole thing is just gathering your spices. And then I'm going to give this a whiz. And then I add the vital wheat gluten. One of the things... I'm sorry. Let me add this is water and some avocado oil. I stopped using seed oils like vegetable oil and grapeseed oil because I learned that's not healthy. It could have free radicals that can bring health issues. And so we only use olive oil or avocado oil. Then goes the vital wheat gluten. And you got to start it. And then scrape down. Where's my... Oh, here, right here. And my machine, this is new, because when you make a lot of vital wheat gluten, if you're not careful and you let it heat up, it kills it. So, but I've had this for about 2-3 years. And then you let it run. About 2 minutes. You can do this by hand, but you have to knead it for about 5 minutes, and you have to knead it till you see strands. When I get back to it, I'm going to be making my bacon, and that does not need any kneading. It forms the strands by sitting. And 2 things I have to tell you about making seitan is if it's wrapped in foil, it gets this weedy taste. And so when I have to make my seitan wrapped in foil, I let it sit overnight, turning over. But if it's simmered like this one, poached, you don't have to let it sit overnight. I think the weedy taste, and also the addition of the beans. the first time I made seitan, I got Bob's Red Mill, and I thought it was like flour, and so thought I was making bread. Oh my God, it was so rubbery you could use it to play basketball. So I've come a long way since then. And you have to have, almost all good recipes have an addition of beans, nutritional yeast, or the other day I made my chicken breast and the addition was tofu. And it makes a great product. So we just let this go and go and go. This is just a couple of minutes. I make this one seitan called chick wheat, and it has to run for like 5-6 minutes. And my machine is going, shaking all over the place. And I have any questions? Pardon me? No. But the recipe that I'm going to make with the cheese, the Gentle Chef, he has a cookbook of making meat gluten-free. I don't know how. I'm not gluten sensitive, so I've never looked at it. Oddly enough, my son thought he was gluten sensitive, but then he had some tests done and he found out no, it was something else he was eating that was giving him a stomach upset. But I know people with celiac that all they have to do is look at wheat and they get sick. And then what I liked about her too is you'll see me, I'm going to shape these sausages, and she put them in a kitchen towel. No special equipment, but of course I went the extra mile and I bought some reusable cheesecloths that I hand wash, because if I put them in the washing machine they get this weird soapy smell. So I hand wash them with just a little bit of dish soap. Now you hear my machine changing sound? That means it's coming together. Let's see. Yeah.
Could you mention whether there's soy in any
Yeah,
of
I have a
these
little bit of soy
for
in here.
anyone who might have
my mix of
aversion?
beans, I ended up with like a cup of soybeans with 2 cups of white beans with 2 cups of chickpeas. It was just a mixture. But that's the only soy in here. My cheese is definitely soy-based. It could be almond-based if you make your own almond milk. When I get to the cheese, I'll explain why. Okay. You can hear it. It changed sounds. Yeah, that looks... Oh, yeah, that looks really good. It's, let me see. Let me put on a glove. Yeah, working in my parents' catering and then also managing a restaurant, you learn to be very sanitary. I'm going to pick this up. I don't know if you can see, but see those strands? That's what you want. You have to have strands for it to come together. The first time I made this bratwurst, I didn't wait for that, and it was so soft. And I'm thinking, no, you don't want anything soft. And then reusable cheesecloths. I think I got 3. I forget the price. On Amazon, everything you get on Amazon, right? And another thing I do, because I'm a little anal about different things, I want perfect measurements, perfect weights. I want everybody to get the same size sausage. I use a gram scale. That's another thing. When you're doing things like vital wheat gluten or any type of baking, it's better to weigh. I watched a video about a month ago, and the person scooped, spooned, and tapped, and the weight was off. Especially in baking, you need to be a little bit more relaxed. So I found out that you just pull it apart. About 8, oh, look at that. You can tell I made a lot of sausage. 81 grams, or 82, just to let you know how much a gram weighs. Well, that's 2 grams. So it doesn't make that big of a difference, but I still like to, I don't want to have all big sausages and then have this little baby one at the end. So let me do a couple of more.
So this makes 500 grams?
It's about 500 grams of product, and then we divided it by, this one is only going to make 4. I have a recipe that makes 6. And that's another thing about this. It freezes. So you're saying, well, it's just me. I'm not going to eat 4 or 6 sausages. Well, you just throw it in the freezer and you thaw it. You can freeze it, thaw it. I have freezed and thawed several times. And it's just fine. Matter of fact, I found some chicken breast. I was cleaning out the garage fridge and I found some chicken breast from a while ago. It came out just fine. Now, one thing about when you do the steam method, your sausage isn't perfect looking. It's not perfectly round. But if you wrap it in foil, like my hot dogs, I make ballpark franks from the chef of the cheese that I'm going to be making. Oh, they are so good. Our son, Eric, which some of you may have met along the way, he's definitely a meat eater. And he says, Mom, these are good. I'm not going to eat them all the time, but these are good, And then I made, I can't tie using gloves. And then we just tie it on either end with just some twine, some string. And then in the middle. And these puff up. When you make this yourself, it's going to double in size, and then it shrinks back. Why? I don't know. So there we go. A little bundle of 4 brats. I put it in some water and poach it. You want to, that's one annoying thing is that it's hard to control. Then all of a sudden it starts to boil, and then it's not, So when you're cooking this, that's the time you do your dishes or you clean off your countertops, because of 30 minutes, then it's done perfectly. Another thing is that you have to wait till the next day. All meat analogs do not taste good the same day. They're too soft. They have to firm up overnight, or at least for 8 hours. So if you decide to have brats for dinner at 6 o'clock, get up at 8 o'clock, make them, and throw them in the fridge, and then they'll be fine. Any questions on the brat? Okay, good. On to my curry. This is another thing. Ketchup is full of high fructose corn syrup. We all know that. I actually found a really good bottled ketchup called 78, and I found it at Meijer's, and it tastes really homemade. And that's a shortcut. Ketchup with some curry powder, with some vinegar, and call it a day, right? But this Maya from Fit Green Mind, she also made her own curry ketchup sauce. And it's one of the ingredients is passata. Oh, I meant to show you a jar, but passata comes in a jar. It's a, 24-ounce jar. And that could be not cheap. But at Caputo's, it's like $3.25 on sale. So let me turn this up. I haven't used an electric stove in a while. And you're going to see how easy this is. Oh, and this sauce freezes. I'm a big freezer person. I try to freeze everything. Even my cheese, I freeze. Where's my orange towel? And then in goes 2 tablespoons of agave, or maple syrup. I'm using agave. 3 tablespoons of white vinegar, the cheap vinegar that you can buy in a container, and a half a teaspoon of vegan Worcestershire. The vegan Worcestershire I find at, that's the passata. Thank you, Brian. It looks like this. And Caputo's, it began as an Italian grocery store. Best place, best price. And it's worth the drive. For me, Caputo's is about, let me get all that out of there. The ladies in the kitchen were saying, this is how you get all the sauce out. This is how we don't want to waste anything, which is true. I love Caputo's, but it's a 15-minute drive for me now. And then goes curry powder and paprika. The curry powder I use, I'll show you in a little bit, plain curry powder. You don't have to go to H Mart. You don't have to go here, go there. Matter of fact, in the curry sauce that I'm making, it's Badia brand that you find at any of your grocery stores. I found that if you buy there's Jamaican curry, there's Chinese curry, there's Indian curry. There's probably a few others that I'm not mentioning, but for something like this, and I make this other thing called curry mock duck. It's a mock meat in a can. It's plain curry. One time I used Jamaican curry, and the taste was not what I remember. So in goes the curry. That's it. Oh, and some salt. I'm using curry. Aren't these containers so cute? We had we were getting those food kits, and they gave you all these little containers. So in goes some salt to taste. And that's it. I made the sauce when I got here, because I figured if I made it at home, it might spill. I have this funny story about that. We went to a chili cook-off contest. Of course, I made my vegan chili, which beat out the meat chilies. I'm pretty proud of myself with that one. But bringing the leftovers home, it spilled in the car. Ugh. Yeah, so I'm like, I'm not going to mess. I did pre-cook the cabbage, and our son at home said, Mom, don't cook that much cabbage again, please. So that's it, and you let it simmer. It's not like making spaghetti sauce that's good the next day. It's not like making your Sunday gravy or however you call it. Like all soups and stews and chili is always good the next day. This you can make the same day. Just heat it up, and you're good to. How easy is that? And then you have no high fructose corn syrup. You can add whatever sweetener you want. I've made this with monk fruit to cut more of the calories. I just don't think I would use honey because I think that would give it an odd taste. You know, you just want something plain. So that's it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is it possible to use the Instapot, the pressure cooker?
You know, there is. You can. I have never, but I think that it only cooks for 30 minutes. So oh, it's starting to spit at me. There's a couple of other meats that I make that cook for an hour. And that's where the Instapot would come in, because then it only has to cook for maybe 30 minutes. My chickweed, it only has to cook for 45 minutes to an hour. I have to have it on the stove for 90 minutes, steaming. So it's, Oh, and another thing I like about this recipe, because when I make my other meat analogs, it calls for foil, and I try, depending on the meat, I try to put wax paper in between the meat and the foil. This is just no foil. You're not having any aluminum, and aluminum, we all know has been linked to Alzheimer's and all that. Now I just love showing how easy some of my food is. We wanted a snack last night, and I had my chickweed, and so I just put some vegetables with the chickweed and put a little hot sauce on top, and we had a little snack. And I pulled that out of the freezer. To learn a lot about cooking your own meats and cheeses, there's the Seitan Appreciation Society on Facebook. And then the Gentle Chef, well, I gave you the link to the currywurst, her blog. What did I make from her? Oh, kibbeh, homemade vegan kibbeh. That was so good. And then this is my avocado oil. I buy the big jars at Costco, and I'm not about to lug around a big jar. Can you make this oil-free? Sure. You just steam it with some water. But I just like cooking my things in oil. And then this is the 6 cups of cabbage. I whizzed it in this processor with some onions. Oh, those onions are strong. Oh, I remember in the catering business using so much onions that we would get them pre-cut. And you open up the fridge and it just would be out there. So this has to come up to cook. And then the spices that I use, really anything you want. Of course, I have an orange pepper grinder, because Orange You Glad It's Vegan is my motto. And this Everglades seasoning we found in Florida, but just any seasoned salt. This seasoned salt, let's see. Oh, Greek seasoning is one of my favorites, because it has the oregano and the garlic and salt, pepper, and a little bit of lemon. So I use a lot of that. And this good old seasoned salt, it just gives depth of flavor. And this vegeta, when I was first introduced to it from my mom's Polish caregiver, she saw I was putting on vegetables or putting rice. She says, Pauline, you don't have to put it on everything. And I'm like, well, I like it on everything. Oh, it's already, these are good stoves. So, and I don't, that's another thing. I don't time anything except for my meat and cheese analogs. Brian will say, well, how long does it have to cook for? I don't know. Till it's done, right? But this vegetta, if you want to try it afterwards, I'll leave it up there. And then you'll notice on the back it says lots more downstairs pantry because I found it on sale and I got 5 bags. Then, of course, some pepper. We use a lot of different peppers, too. Black pepper, there's a red Campot pepper I found. There's green, yeah, they all taste like pepper, but some of them are better for vegetables. Some of them, yeah. The white pepper, oh, and that's the secret to Chinese cooking, right? Ground white pepper. Oh, and in here, did I say an onion? It's 6 cups of cabbage and a half of a yellow onion. You're going to be, I already have some pre-cooked, like I said. And that's it. How easy is that? When people say, I don't know how to cook or I don't want to have the time, how long did it take me to do all this? The longest time period is just getting your seasonings together. And then it's all ready to go. Any more questions? No, that's okay. That's why you sit in the front seat, right?
Back to the sausage, can you do it without oil? Because I'm oil-free.
Sure.
What can you substitute
I
instead?
just would leave the oil out. I like adding oil because I feel it adds, what do I want to say, to the tooth, the texture, flavor, things like that. But in the sausage, to make 4 sausages, I think it was only 1 tablespoon of oil. I would just leave it out. It's only 1 tablespoon. It's not going to make or break anything. And this, do you guys smell the cabbage? See, I don't smell cabbage or garlic for some reason when I'm cooking. I think because maybe I used too much of it when I was in the catering business. And in goes my chopped garlic. That's another thing. This one YouTuber, I forget his name, but he compared garlic powder, dehydrated garlic, fresh chopped garlic, and then the jarred garlic. And he said they're all drastically different, which they are. I use a lot of chopped garlic, but what was I making the other day? Oh, I was making this garlic pasta dish, and I'm like, okay, we have to go and chop our own garlic because it's supposed to be garlic. And then I use those king oyster mushrooms instead of scallops, which came out really good. So that's it. I'm going to have to switch gears and make room for my cheese. Okay? So just give me a minute. Yeah, we can take a break. If you have to go, go get some water or something.
Tomato sauce, because I use tomato sauce. I don't use ketchup at all, because I try to find something that is 100% natural, and
Sure.
it's impossible. So I found some kind of Italian tomato sauce, which is organic also, and it has like 3 ingredients. Only sometimes it has garlic, organic tomatoes, like Roma tomatoes, and sometimes it has salt, or sometimes it just has the tomatoes. I can use that, right?
Yeah, sure. I have not tried that because from what I understand, passata is an uncooked tomato sauce.
Okay. I use uncooked too.
Okay, then that's fine. I have
Yes.
never heard this. This is what Maya told me to use, so I'm going to use what she told
Yes.
me. So,
Yes.
And it works for me, and especially when you can get it on sale. And then if you make too much, this was 2 cups, and let's say you only use a half a cup because it's, that's all you need, throw it in the freezer.
Of course.
And then these plastic containers, these are actually new. I found out that if you use liquids and you heat in your plastic tubs, after 3-4 years, they leak a carcinogen.
They actually start leaking after the first time you warm them up.
Oh, really? Okay. But if you don't warm them up and only with liquids, that's when it can go for a couple of years, right?
I don't use the plastic. I keep everything in glass.
Yeah, I use a
Especially
lot of...
like tomato sauce and
Well, the cheese I brought, it went in there hot, so I put that in glass.
yes.
But this is just convenient for me to bring
Yeah,
here.
They leak right away. They did a study and they found out once you warm up plastic, it leaks right away.
Oh, gosh. So that's
even,
not,
even washing it with very hot water or in the dishwasher can do that also.
okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yes. That's why I always use glass.
Okay. Well, I reuse glass. Does anybody else suffer from jaritis? You get a cool jar and you're like, oh my God, let me take off the label and use this, right?
Yes.
It was, my son just moved and he says, Mom, I gave so many jars to charity, to the resale shops. He got it too. No, I'm okay. I'm just throwing things in
And
this
I
bag.
have a question about, because she's oil-free and I'm oil-free also, so I use tahini a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then I use sesame seeds. I use avocado oil very rarely. More, my mom uses it to cook. And I was wondering if we can put a little bit of sesame, of tahini in it instead of 1 tablespoon of the oil.
I don't know. You know, for the sausage, I would just leave the oil out.
Yes. Okay.
You know, if you want to experiment with tahini,
Yes.
but I think tahini has such a strong flavor.
It does. It's the raw tahini, yes, because that's what I use.
Yeah,
It
but
does.
I do make my Caesar salad dressing because I don't put Parmesan cheese in it. The recipe that I've developed has a little bit of tahini. That's for the funk of the Parmesan. And my last Caesar salad dressing, that was, I finally, you know, you trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, and then you, I guess I'm not supposed to say that a lot. And then I'll leave this so you guys can take a look at that. Okay, so on to the cheese making. Let's see. So the cheese is so easy to make, but last night when I was making the cheese for today, it broke, meaning which the oil separated from, and if you from the solids. And if you've ever made, I make my own peri peri, and you blend it, pouring the oil in slowly. One time I broke it, and it never got back together. And what I have, the samples, I brought them in square glass, thinking that's easier to cut up into cubes. But of course, just like my cheesecloth, aren't these just so adorable? They are, what do you call, springform. And it makes perfect round things of smoked cheese. Yeah, but if I'm making cheddar, like or mozzarella, for my Mother's Day this year, our son made his famous baked mastacholi with cinnamon and anise flavors in the sauce, almost like a Greek-style baked mastacholi. He's like, Mom, I need some mozzarella. I'm like, hold on. I made the mozzarella, throw it in a tub, and in 3 hours we had firm enough cheese to shred. So that's how easy it is, as long as we have the ingredients on hand. One of the is coconut oil. I know that's a big jar, but I put it in my downstairs pantry, and it lasts for a long time, but it has to be refined. That's the only not such great. But the refining removes the coconut taste. Now, if you want to have coconut-tasted cheese, then go ahead and use regular coconut oil. Here's the nutritional yeast that I use. Actually, I buy it online, and I just use this because it fits in my cupboard easier. I also, that was the thing I wanted to tell you about, the Vital Wheat gluten for here. Before the pandemic, I was able to get 4 pounds of Anthony's Vital Wheat gluten for $14. Then it went to $18. Then it went up to $24. And that's, $6 a pound? I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to buy it online. So Apple Valley Natural Foods, there's one in Downers Grove on Maple, I believe it is. They had a sale, 5 pounds for like $15. I came home with 45 pounds of Vital Wheat gluten. But if I make my own ribs, I make my own sausages, bacon, chicken roast, so I actually only have 1 bag left. Yeah, that is a great store. And Brian likes the vegan breakfast sausage. And we looked, and it was a better price than you can get it even at Walmart. And he says, well, we're very competitive. We look at the prices that are out there, and we make sure we undercut it by 25 to 50 cents, maybe even $1. Apple Valley Natural Food, I think it might be on there. Yeah. It's a cute little store. It has shelving on one shelf in the middle and a little freezer section in the back. The Vital Wheat gluten I get there. But they also have Loma Linda products, which are plant-based products. And, okay, we can all make our own sloppy joes, but I bought a can of their sloppy joes, and it was so good. And then the other item I'm using is soy milk. Like I said, you can use almond milk if you make it yourself. If you go to the store, I like Trader Joe's because it's only like $2 for one of those cartons. I don't drink a lot of milk, so I buy a small container. The soy milk, it just says soy milk, soy and water. You look at the almond milk, there's like 5, 6 ingredients, including preservatives and all kinds of things. And the gentle chef, Sky Michael, says that if you have those other ingredients in there, it does something to the cheese-making process. Oh, and then my other little cute container, I have, because it's a smoked cheese, I have liquid smoke, and again, vegan Worcestershire. Vegan Worcestershire you can find I've only found it at Whole Foods, but I only use a teaspoon or a tablespoon, and it lasts 6 months in my fridge, so the first thing we do, one more. This is a thickening. Capicaragine. It's natural, it's okay, but it helps the thickening. And then also in here this is my tapioca flour. So you use capicaragine to thicken tapioca starch so it could be melty. So this goes into almost all cheeses, no matter where you look online. So the milk. These new containers, the lids don't want to behave. And melted coconut oil. And with coconut oil, did you know you can put like the glass jar in the fridge, melt it, pour it into your measuring cup, and then put it back in the cupboard, and you can keep doing that. It doesn't do anything to the process. Oh, we're making a little noise. Little kids are so cute. There we go. A little story about little kids. Our son was about 3 years old, and we were at an event at a church, and I said, "Please be quiet, please be quiet." And he yelled out during the quiet part, "I won't be quiet." And I'm like, oh gosh. So embarrassing. Yeah. And that little boy now is 33 years old. And both my boys eat pretty healthy. But my younger son is like, well, when you're on a budget, you got to learn to like those frozen pot pies for $1. Okay. Oh, see, it's already thickening up because the heat. One thing also about this is that when you're making your own cheese, you can't walk away. This is not the time to go do dishes. This is not the time you could take a sip of water. Because last night when I was making this, I thought, let me go refill my water glass, and it broke. And I did not swear. I don't believe in swearing. But I sure wanted to. Yeah, you're like, Pauline's having a bad moment, I'm leaving. And we're a good team. He actually puts all my spices together, and when I make my chickpea crepes or red lentil crepes, he's my crepe maker. I just don't have the patience for it, so he does that. Yeah, that's another thing that when we went plant-based to try to make crepes or something like for manicotti or just regular crepes, you can make them out of red lentils, you can make them out of chickpea flour. Well, those are the only two that I've made. And then there's a thing on Facebook or YouTube, make your own tofu out of any bean. Well, have we ever heard of Burmese tofu? Well, it's basically chickpea flour and water and a couple of other ingredients. Recipes are online. I think my recipe is 3 cups water, 1 cup chickpea flour, and a couple of other things. It is oil-free. And you cook for like 5 minutes, put it in a form, and it's good to have the next day, but if you let it sit for a couple more days, the water comes out of it and it gets even more firm. Mary's Test Kitchen, I think she got a soy allergy. So she's made she's made tofu out of edamame, out of chickpeas themselves, out of, what else has she's made them out of? Red lentil. She tried a couple of other ones that didn't really work out. But I've tried the red lentil tofu, and that's come out good as well. But that's, again, you have to reduce the water so it gets a little bit thicker and thicker. But a bunch of YouTubers were like, let me do, they kind of do the same thing. Something happens, and then they all do it. And that's fun to watch. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. Another thing is you can't heat this up too fast. That was another thing. I went to the Gentle Chef's Facebook group, and I said, mine broke. And they said, well, you heated it up too quickly. And what got me to find the Gentle Chef is going vegan. I mixed that Wisconsin crock cheese, in the tub, and his cheese, crock cheese, is so good. You had it at our last meetup. We had a potluck. I made it. It's so addicting that our meat-eating, cheese-eating son in the car was like, can I have another one? Can I have another one? He says, it's not like the tub cheese, but what you have here is really, really good. Any questions about cheese making? I see I'm being very careful. Yeah, it sets it up. You need something that is firm, but there are other cheeses you can make. My first venture into cheese making, I was making almond cheese with ground almonds. Oh, repeat the question. She wanted to know if you can make this cheese without coconut oil, and you need coconut oil to firm it up at refrigerator. I'm just afraid of this to break in front of you guys. Let me turn it up. It is thickening, like cornstarch. Yeah?
Hello. Okay. I'm so tired of eating cheeseless pizza. How do you modify this for mozzarella?
On the Gentle Chef, you can look up his. He makes mozzarella. At one demo this past summer, I made fresh mozzarella using his recipe, but a technique I learned in a cheese making class downtown. And what somebody put on their pasta, which I thought was interesting. I just saw this the other day. You know how you can buy lupini beans in a jar at the Italian grocery? They grated it over their pasta, and they say it gave it a very nutty taste, like Parmesan. And then, let's see. Yeah, and the mozzarella, like I made for my son, it only took a couple of hours to set up. This went viral a couple years ago, liquid mozzarella. And it firms up on your pizza. What it is, okay, see how this is liquid? When I put it in my thing, it's gonna be kind of liquidy. But then when you cook now it's coming together. I have not cooked on electric for a very long time. Tapioca starch makes it stretchy, melty. Another thing, if you're making this, what did I want to say? Sometimes you don't use tapioca starch because you want to serve it in cubes. Oh, so that's what I forgot to talk about is the different types of cheese. What I'm making for you today is a simple cheese. Okay, it sets up, it's good to go. Then there's the cultured cheese, which I just made some sour cream. It was the best ever. And I've also made my own sour cream, my own cream cheese, which is cultured. And you can culture it using a probiotic capsule or a Rejuvelac. And then, so most of them you have to cook like this. See how this is coming together now? Oh, I'm sorry. Like this? There. Oh, right there. Okay. And so I made Gentle Chef's cheddar, and it really didn't shred. And I'm thinking, I asked him, and he says, well, you got to make the shredding cheddar. I'm like, okay. Right. And what makes it shredding is it has to be firm. And so what I've done, oh, this is coming out great. This is when you switch to a spatula. I'll just wipe it on there. Is it? There we go. See, it's, yeah. And then it has to get gooier. And then when it pulls away from the sides, you know it's done. So the cheddar and his Parmesan is, instead of cooking it on the stove like this, oh, see, it's starting to break. Instead of cooking it on the stove, you put it right into a glass dish, and you put it in your steamer. And then you, oh yeah, see. Yes, my arm gets tired. I made 2 batches of cheese and the one that broke, and I was doing exercises afterwards. But now I'm trying to make feta cheese. I love feta, and Miyoko sells her feta under the Trader Joe's name for half the price, and that's delicious, and I just love feta cheese. So that's my next thing, is perfecting feta cheese. So that's pretty much it. It's pulling away from the sides. And then I'm going to put it in my cute little form. And this is non-stick, so I don't have to spray it with any oils or anything like that. I'm going to stop here. And see, it's going to go in kind of runny. Oh, I should be doing this in front. I'm sorry. It's going to, see how it's a little runny? But then it forms up overnight. And it gets firm enough to waste not, want not, like Mom said, right? And that's it to cheese making. That took a while because, you know, you have to be careful when you're making your cheese. Sausage, it's forgivable. Any of the sauces are forgivable, but cheese is a little bit more. And you should go to the Gentle Chef's, I'm sorry? My arms, yeah. I'm going to end up with this arm being stronger than this arm. But on the Gentle Chef's website, he sells his ebooks for like $15. And you get, I can't, hundreds of recipes. And then the $10 ones, maybe 50 recipes. But he also gives away recipes, and on his website is the crock cheese. You make the cheese one day, throw it in a tub. The next day, you have to mush it so it becomes spreadable and is ready to serve. And that's freezable, but what I learned that when you take it out of the freezer, you have to mash it really good, and then it's spreadable. That's the only cheese that you have to be a little bit more on top of it, can we say. So any more questions about cheese making? Okay, I'm sorry. So the solids separate from the oil.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry. She wants to know what I mean by the cheese breaking. I think there's other things that you make that can break. That's just a culinary term. That's when the solids separate from the fat. And then the solids, I tasted it. It did not taste good. So I had to dump and start again. I was not happy. But that's okay. That was the first time it ever happened. And sometimes when it breaks, you can whisk, or use a hand stick blender or something like that, and you can bring it back together. And that's what I've done. Like when you make your own mayonnaise, if you've ever tried that, there's recipes online. One of the secrets is you need to add a couple of chickpeas to the aquafaba, which is a liquid from the chickpea can, because that helps thicken it. And I've made mayonnaise where it just doesn't work. And then I've made mayonnaise where I'm like, oh my gosh, it worked. Yeah. And then I was on, perusing YouTube or Pinterest or TikTok, and this woman said, well, you're using fresh ingredients. It's not going to last that long. And she says, put some culture in it. Put some Rejuvelac or something like that, because when you culture something, it makes it last a long time. That's another type of cheese that I want to make, is like a blue cheese, because that's an aged cheese. And you do create mold. Not the fuzzy mold. You got to create like the blue mold or the paper mold, like on the side of a brie cheese. So stay tuned for that. I've been kind of chicken to make it, but I will be making it. Okay? Yes.
Would you do anything, sorry, if you just wanted a cheese sauce, would you do anything differently to that recipe?
Well, the Gentle Chef, he uses these ingredients to create a cheese sauce. But I wanted to make, my son found out that there was a restaurant in Cicero, Illinois, that made their own hot dogs, hot dog toppings, not the Chicago style. Omaha with sauerkraut on Thousand Island on there. There's all regional hot dogs. But that one, you take your bun, make like garlic bread out of it, put it on a roll, and you add a cheese sauce and one more thing. Was it onions or something? Oh, no, giardiniera. And so I went to go make a mac and cheese sauce. And that is basically potato, carrot, bell pepper. I think there was probably some tapioca starch in there. So it was all more natural ingredients. And then I made macaroni cheese with it. And then now when we get home, that's going to be our snack. We're going to have the Cicero hot dog today. Yeah, it should be interesting. So you make a cheese sauce. You can make it the Gentle Chef way using all these ingredients, or you can find a healthier version, which is more vegetable base. And that one you can make oil-free. And another thing I like about making my own things is I can control the sodium. And I'm not a sweet eater. I know everybody likes their chocolate, but I don't. And so I use, instead of sugars or things like that, I'll use monk fruit or stevia, not the artificial Splendas or anything like that. So when you're making that cheese, you can make it oil-free if you want to. You can control the salt. And it actually came out really good. I was surprised.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So here I have, let me see how much this weighs. I love these little scales. Let's see. This weighs 12 ounces, okay? And when I make 6 sausages, it's about a pound, and it cost me $1.75 to make. To getting 6 sausages. I mean, how cheap is that, right? That's another reason why I like making my own sausage, because the Beyond, not only do you have those extra chemicals, but what is it, $10 for 4 sausages? I mean, and I just don't like the taste of the heme in there. Make a pound of cheese, costs about $1.50, $1.60, depending on your ingredients. I mean, yes, you have to make an investment in the Capicaragan, and there's another thing that you buy for some cheese making. But I don't even include this in the cost because this is going into so many things. So $1.75, $1.50, you get a pound of this and a pound of that. And you saw how easy it was to make. The cheese was a little bit more intense, but the sausage, like that. And then to make a pound of bacon, 1 full pound of bacon is, again, like $1.50, $1.60. And then you slice it the next day. We like it so much when I make my lunch meats and everything that I actually went out and bought an electric meat slicer. On Facebook Marketplace for like 1/3 the price. No, a friend of ours was having a barbecue, and he says, Pauline, I don't want you to bring anything. I want to provide. I'm like, but you're not going to provide Beyond sausage. That's crazy. I'm going to pull a couple of brats out of my freezer, and then you give me all my toppings. He says, okay, fine. So, and really, these stay in the freezer for a long time.
We have a question.
I know there may not be, but I was just wondering, is there any alternative to the Carrageen, or is that all you can use?
That's all I know. And I don't think it's like a bad chemical. No, it's not.
Okay. Okay.
You know, and this is not expensive. This is a new one that I found because it was cheaper than the one that I was using. But, oh, that's another thing. Some people on the seitan site say, well, I only use Bob's Red Mill Vital Wheat Gluten, or I only use this. I have not found a difference. Sometimes there's a little difference in the protein, like by 1 gram, but it's all the same. You know, I'm all about cost saving. Yes, I buy this big tub of coconut oil, but I will go through it in about 6 months. Nutritional yeast, I buy it in the larger bags because I will go through it. But you can certainly buy the smaller containers in the back section. Like this, I found it on sale at their produce international store in Naperville. And they had it in the bin for 50 cents a bag. This is Vegeta that I just keep with a little spoon. I keep it next to all of my veggie broths and things like that, because this is good on everything. And if you want to try, seriously, come on up. I have a little spoon. You could throw a little bit in your hand and try it. And then my pork bouillon and my passata. I have to look for that tomato sauce. I bet you it's cheaper than passata.
Actually, I found it at TJ Maxx and Marshall. And I was skeptical about buying it, but my mom and I found it a few years ago, and we go back and buy it. And it has like 2-3 ingredients top.
Really?
The
I'm going to
tomato
have to
sauce.
look into that.
And they come in jars exactly like that. And sometimes we find them at Whole Foods, and I think they have like 4 ingredients. So we were like, wow, to find tomato sauce like that.
I'm doing this without my glasses. How many ingredients were in here, Brian?
They are made in Italy.
Yeah. Oh, good questions, everybody. Thank you. And now we get to enjoy what I have made. The fruits of my labor.
Just one comment about Vegeta. Try to find one with MSG.
Oh.
Yeah. No
Okay.
MSG.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to say on it no MSG. Otherwise, they make them with MSG.
Interesting. I have never
Yeah.
noticed the no MSG. I'll have to look for
Yeah,
that.
they do have them. without.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, I think I missed this in the beginning. When you were talking about the currywurst, going back to that, and you were mentioning the vital wheat gluten at Apple Valley, is that a powder?
Yes. It looks
okay.
like flour, and I did a mistake once. I went there, and I brought the wrong thing, and my son's like, Mom, where's your glasses, right? My reading glasses. But the vital wheat gluten is on one shelf, and their whole wheat flour is on the other shelf. So I bought the wrong. They let me return it and exchange it. It was like the same day, and they're super friendly. But it comes in a powder, yes.
Thank
and
you.
you don't use it like you do bread flour, because that was my mistake. Like I told you, the first time I made vital wheat gluten 14 years ago, seriously, I thought, oh, you just add a little water, follow the recipe, and it's going to be good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay.
All right, let's give a round of applause to Pauline. Thank you very much. And so we will take a short break while we pull our tables out and get everything ready to taste. Does that sound okay? All right, thank you.